My name is Elodie Marks, and on the week of my 33rd birthday, I woke up to a number that ended every illusion I had about love, loyalty, and family. It was 2:06 a.m. when my phone buzzed. I didn't even need to unlock the screen. The bank alert glared back at me like a warning shot. Negative $36,218.74. I sat up in bed, the cold of the number cutting sharper than the night air. I stared at it long enough to think maybe I was dreaming. But it didn't blink, and neither did I. The card was mine. The account was mine. Every cent of that debt, now mine too. My fingers moved before my brain did. I dialed my father's number. He picked up on speaker. I heard music in the background. My mother's laugh. Someone clinking a glass. "Dad," I said, "something's wrong with my account. It's maxed out. Did you?" He didn't hesitate. "Elodie, you're always so dramatic. Your mother had hospital bills. Your brother's truck broke down. And the house? We're behind again. You know how it is." I was silent. "You've got it," he continued. "We needed it." "You didn't ask," I whispered. He scoffed. "We don't ask for what's already ours." Then came her voice. My mother, sharp and smug. "Oh, come on. What were you going to do? Buy yourself a little birthday cake?" We had better plans. I exhaled slowly. That moment, right there, was my final gift from them. So I said it clearly, without heat, without begging. "Don't ever call me again." And this time, I meant it. I didn't cry. I didn't scream or throw my phone or pace the room like I used to when I was younger, and still believed my family would eventually change. I just stared at the ceiling and let the weight of it settle, like wet cement, not shock. Because somewhere deep down, I wasn't surprised. Just confirmed. By 2:17 a.m., I was already in motion. The first thing I did was log into every account. Bank, credit card, insurance, subscriptions, student loans, any system where I'd once been the reliable name on paper. And I started the purge. Not with rage, with precision. The house they lived in? The mortgage was in my name. My mother's credit was ruined a decade ago. I canceled the autopay. A week's notice? Nothing more. My brother's truck? Leased under my co-signature? Repossession would follow by Friday. And his overdue insurance premiums? I reported the fraudulent access and froze my authorization. The utilities? Electric, gas, water. All under my name. I contacted each provider with the legal paperwork and scheduled them for disconnection by month's end. I didn't rush. I didn't blindside. I simply severed. I moved through each step like I was filing paperwork for a patient I didn't know personally. Detached, efficient, surgical. And still, I remembered. I remembered being 13 and standing in a corner salon with a broom in my hand, sweeping up hair after school. Not because I wanted extra cash, but because my mom had cried in the kitchen 2 nights earlier when she couldn't pay the electric bill. I got a job the next day and handed her my first $40 in an envelope. She didn't say thank you. She said, "See? I knew you'd figure it out." That's who I'd been for 20 years. The fixer, the fallback, the automatic solution to everyone else's mess. I paid off Dad's second DUI when I was 20. I co-signed my brother's community college loans because he'd never qualify a loan. I covered groceries when my parents' SNAP benefits ran out early. I paid for Christmas dinners, birthday cakes I never got to eat, and cable bills for a house I hadn't lived in since I was 19. And every time I told myself, this is what family does. Until that night, when I finally realized, no, this is what exploitation looks like when it's wrapped in guilt and called love. The next morning, the calls started. Blocked numbers. Then their real ones. Then texts. "Mom? Honey, did you cancel the mortgage? The bank says we're flagged." "Dad? Your brother said the truck's missing." "What the hell are you doing?" "Mom, just call us. We're family. Family." Always that word. Always after they've already taken too much. I didn't respond. Instead, I got dressed, poured myself coffee in the mug they gave me 2 birthdays ago, #1 daughter, and walked to the post office. I handed the full legal disassociation packet to the clerk, with signatures, account closures, and revocations of power of attorney. "Certified?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "All of it." I watched her stamp each envelope like she was sealing coffins. That night, my mother posted a vague status on Facebook. "It's always the ones you love the most who hurt you the deepest." No names, but her friends filled in the blanks. "She owes you more than that. You raised her too soft. Kids today are so cold." Cold? Let me tell you what cold is. Cold is watching your father light a cigarette with the money you gave him for gas. Cold is hearing your mother laugh with her friends about how much we can squeeze out of Ellie this month and pretending you didn't hear. Cold is coming home for Thanksgiving with groceries in hand and hearing, "You should have brought wine too. The nice kind." That's cold. What I did? That was fire. And still, they didn't stop. My brother messaged me. "I get that you're upset, but did you really have to go nuclear?" I didn't answer. Because he wasn't asking. He was negotiating, like I was alone with bad interest. Ava, my cousin, finally texted, "I know this is messy, but they're still your parents." I typed, paused, deleted, then wrote, "And if you keep breaking someone, you don't get to be shocked when they stop coming home." I hit send, then muted the thread. That night, I sat at my kitchen table and opened a spreadsheet titled Exit Plan. Not because I needed it, but because I needed to see it. In rows and numbers and clean lines, my freedom calculated. I wasn't angry. I wasn't heartbroken. I was done. Done performing gratitude for people who only loved me when I was useful. Done confusing blood with bond. And for the first time in my life, I felt still. Not numb. Not bitter. Just still. Like the shaking had finally stopped. They always said I was too responsible. It used to sound like praise. Backhanded maybe, but still praise. At least until I realized it was code for, "You'll clean up our messes, and we won't have to thank you." The fallout began quietly. Not with screaming or threats, but with something worse. Emotional performance. My brother posted a photo of his truck's empty parking spot on Instagram with the caption, "When family forgets what that word means." My mother updated her Facebook cover photo to an old one of us at Christmas when I was 15 and still naive enough to believe giving would eventually earn me safety. And then the direct messages came. "Mom, please talk to us. We're hurting." "Dad, this isn't how you fix things." "Uncle Dean, you're acting like a stranger, Ellie. That's not how your parents raised you. They raised me to believe love had an invoice. They taught me that showing up meant paying up, that birthdays were for others, that I didn't get to be the one in crisis. I was the solution, not the storm." I remembered one year. It was my 27th birthday. I showed up to dinner with a reservation for 6. I had bought the cake, covered the tab, paid for valet. Everyone thanked each other, not me. At the end of the night, my mother hugged me and whispered, "Thank you for making it nice for us." I went home and cried alone. That memory came back now, sharp and clear. I wasn't grieving, I was remembering, and that was its own kind of pain. 3 days after I severed the accounts, they showed up. I'd just gotten home from work when I saw the car, a dented silver Buick, pull up outside my apartment. I didn't need to see their faces to know. I heard the door slam, the hurried footsteps, the familiar rhythm of my father's cane on concrete. My hand froze on the doorknob. I didn't move. I stood perfectly still as the doorbell rang. Then it rang again, and again, and again. They pounded on the wood like it owed them something. "Ellie, open the damn door." "Elodie, please. We're trying to talk to you." They'd never tried before. I sat on the couch, out of their line of sight, sipping from the same mug as before. #1 daughter. What a joke. They kept at it for 10 minutes. My father's voice turned from demanding to pleading, and my mother's turned from fake tears to full-blown anger. At one point, she shouted, "You're ruining everything. We trusted you." I almost laughed, because that was the truth, wasn't it? They didn't love me. They trusted me to keep paying, to keep quiet, to keep bending. I didn't open the door. I waited until the porch was quiet again, until I heard the car door slam a second time and the engine rattle away like some broken promise. Then I opened my laptop. The final emails went out within the hour. To my lawyer confirming dissolution of all shared financial ties. To the phone company canceling the family plan. To Amazon, Hulu, Netflix. All services I had quietly paid for while they criticized my bougie taste. Even the utilities that weren't overdue, gone. I didn't owe explanations. I owed myself peace. Later that night, my cousin Amanda sent me a text. Amanda, did you really shut off the heat at your parents' place? It's freezing out, Elle. I stared at the message. I let the guilt rise, because it always did, but this time I didn't let it stay. Me. I didn't shut it off. I just stopped paying for it. There was no reply. Just the 3 gray dots pulsing, then disappearing. That silence? It was louder than any scream they ever threw at me. 2 days later, an email came through from a burner address. No greeting, just a subject line. We didn't raise you to be like this. I didn't open it. I didn't have to. Because the truth was, they had. They raised me with conditional love. With ledgers and balances. With affection that vanished the moment I said no. When I was 14, Mom told me, real love means sacrifice. She said that right after handing me her overdue credit card bill and asking me to call the number and see what they'll forgive if I sound young enough. I was 14. They taught me to parent them. And now they didn't like that parenting had stopped. So no, I didn't shut off the heat. I shut off the lifeline they drained dry. I changed my number that night. But before I did, I left one last voicemail. It was short. Calm. You chose your comfort over my trust. You broke what I spent my whole life building. So now you can rebuild. Without me. Then I blocked every number, every email, every social media account. And that night, for the first time since I could remember, I didn't sleep with my phone next to my bed. I slept with the window cracked and the silence wide open. It had been nearly a year since I'd heard their voices. No birthday texts, no guilt-laced emails, no friend of a friend just checking in. The silence didn't hurt anymore. It hummed like a heater in winter. Quiet. Warm. Protective. I'd moved into a new apartment, smaller but mine. I set up automatic savings, opened a retirement fund, started therapy. I didn't miss them. I missed the idea of them. And that idea had never really existed. But peace, as I learned, is fragile. It was a Sunday afternoon. Soft rain traced the windows. The kind of day made for slow jazz and candlelight. I was steeping tea when my phone lit up. Not a call. A voicemail from an unknown number. I didn't want to listen. I did anyway. Ellie, it's your mom, the voice began. Hollow, familiar, calculated. Your dad. He fell, broke his leg. We're at county, no insurance. They won't do the surgery unless we cover part of the cost. Pause. We know you're angry, but this is serious. This is family. Please, just call back. Click. I stood there, the mug cooling in my hands. For 3 whole minutes, I didn't move. Because I knew that voice. Not the tone of apology, but urgency dressed up like remorse. The same voice she used when the electric bill was overdue. When the bank was threatening foreclosure. When my brother failed another class and needed tuition. It was always urgent, but never sorry. I walked to my desk, opened my laptop, and pulled up the folder labeled History. Inside, copies of medical bills I'd paid without reimbursement. Text asking for rent help just this once. Screenshots of overdrafts from shared accounts I hadn't touched. And of course, the line item from my credit card exactly 1 year ago. $36,218.74. My cursor hovered over the voicemail file. I didn't delete it. I just didn't answer it either. Instead, I opened my banking app. I looked at the balance. I could afford the surgery. That wasn't the point. It had never been about the money. It was about the door they kept kicking down every time they needed something. Never to check on me. Never to say sorry. Always to withdraw. So instead of sending a check to hospital, I moved funds into my personal emergency account. I renamed the folder Peace Fund. Then I texted Amanda. Me. Tell them I hope he heals, but I won't bleed again to fix their wounds. No reply, just silence. And for the first time, it didn't feel like rejection. It felt like protection. I went to bed that night with the window open and the phone on airplane mode. The wind creaked through the screen like a lullaby. I slept 8 full hours. Because letting someone fall isn't cruelty when they were the ones who burned the bridge. And yet, I still showed up. A month later, Ava, my cousin, the one who never asked for anything, got married. She sent me a simple message. I know it's complicated, but I want you there. Just you. So I went. I wore black satin. Not to mourn, but to mark something final. I wasn't the old Elodie anymore. I wasn't the bank. I wasn't the buffer. I wasn't theirs. The second I stepped into the reception hall, I felt the temperature shift. Eyes tracked me. Not because I was late, or loud, or scandalous, but because I had survived without them. And nothing unnerves people like a woman they can't shame anymore. My father stood across the room, leaning heavily on a cane, in a rented tuxedo. He didn't wave. My mother avoided my eyes, adjusting her too-tight dress, and fake smiling through the discomfort. I didn't approach them. I wasn't there for them. I sat at a table with Ava's friends, drank champagne, laughed loudly. I let joy be my rebellion, because there's nothing more offensive to those who tried to break you than seeing you whole. During dinner, my mother brushed past my chair. Her hand rested on it for a moment, trembling. "You look different," she said. I looked up at her, not cold, but clear. "I am." She opened her mouth. I raised my hand gently. "I'm here for Ava, not you." Her eyes misted. Not from grief, from realization. That what she had taken for granted was gone. My father raised his glass during the toasts, glanced at me like he expected a peace offering. I didn't lift mine. I didn't blink. Because peace isn't pretending. Peace is boundaries with teeth. And I wasn't biting anymore. This year, my birthday was quiet. No surprise calls. No oops, we forgot texts. No drama disguised as affection. Just a soft Sunday afternoon and the sound of peace. Not silence, but peace. Around 3 p.m., there was a knock at my door. It was Ava. No balloons, no performance. Just her, a candlelit cake in a plastic cover, and that soft, knowing smile that said everything. We didn't talk much. We didn't have to. She sat the cake down, lit the candles, and said, "You were never the problem, Elodie. You were just the first to leave." We didn't make wishes. We just sat and breathed. That was enough. Because healing, I've learned, isn't always about epic transformations. Sometimes it's the choice to not go back, not explain, not offer access to parts of you that were only ever taken for granted. That night, I opened a drawer I hadn't touched in months. Inside was a frame, an old photo from one of those family Christmases where I had paid for everything. The gifts, the food, even the pajamas they wore in the picture. I stared at it, then turned it over. And in its place, I slid a newer photo, blurry, imperfect. Just me and Ava at her wedding, champagne in hand, mid-laugh, real, light, free. On the back, I wrote, "Chosen family is still family, and love without debt is still love." My mother still posts cryptic statuses. My father still tells half-truths in living rooms I no longer enter. I know I'm the villain in their version. I don't care. Because villains don't pay their abusers' bills. Because I finally understand. I was not cruel. I was conditioned. I was not selfish. I was spent. And now, I am full in a way they never made room for. I don't miss them. I miss the version of them I hoped existed. But that version was never real. When people ask if I've forgiven them, I say this. I forgive myself for staying as long as I did. I used to be their rescue boat. Tethered, overloaded, slowly sinking under everyone else's survival. Now I'm the lighthouse, still standing, still shining, but only for those who want to find their own way.